Oh, was I on mute the whole time? Oh, that's a blooper, isn't it? Hold on.
Pick.
So my guitarist, no, I don't have a guitar pick, but maybe we can go get one.
Can we get one today?
You can make one too.
How?
I'll show you later. So that's my guitarist. He's showing up. He asked me to download something from the game. So I'm not sure at what point I was not on mute. So let's start this over. Um, dun, dun, dun. That's why I'm glad I have this whiteboard. All right. So in 2014, I worked on a project called Frosty the Snowbot. It was designed to measure the weight of snow on buildings. And ultimately, we needed a power source for it because running an electrical line was not really feasible in some of these locations. What we have here is this is a picture from Saturday, actually, in my backyard. And this is the battery, charge controller, and voltimeter. Not pictured are the solar panels. And in that little segment there, I kind of said, I did not know about the solar charge controller until I built the system. And I know I get a lot of these questions, Frank, why are you doing this? Well, one, I want to build out a larger solar array and I don't want to have to rely on someone else to install it. Now, I may get somebody else to install it and do it professionally, but I want to size the system and build out the system in a way that I know how it works. That's ultimately kind of my end goal here. All right, now I was going to do a quick review of how solar power panels work. All right, because there's a lot of misunderstandings, and unfortunately, this does get venture off into the realm of the political. But because folks think that you put up a windmill or you put up a solar panel and all the world's problems are solved. It doesn't. It's not that simple. Because if it were that simple, this would have been done decades ago. Um, all right, not saying I am still very much a believer in solar power, and let me explain what my next plan is. My next plan is once the old house is closed on, um, we want to build. My wife and I want to build kind of an outbuilding that's either going to be a workshop or an office, and a greenhouse as well, and or a greenhouse. And one of the things I was thinking about, and I saw this on a YouTuber called, I think, 2-bit, the 8-bit guy, I think that's what it was. He put solar panels after the all over his house, of his workshop, to power the workshop's HVAC system, in light after what happened in the power grid failures of Texas last year. And he has this whole setup where he can use grid power or use solar panel basically. Well, one of my short term goals is, yeah, obviously I like monitors. Um, Obviously, I like monitors. I would like to power a couple of them through my little solar panel setup here. And you're probably thinking, Frank, why don't you want to power them all? Well, here's the thing: the solar panels I have are not that large. I have three solar panels, and I'll diagram it out in a minute. And it's a 55-watt system. It's the Coleman 55-watt system. Everything was original up until basically Saturday when I had to get a new charge controller. And you're probably thinking, Frank, why did you need to get a new charge controller? Well, I'm glad you asked, because my charge controller, this is a new box for it, uh, it got water on it. And the old charge controller, I have a picture of it here, or do I? This is the old charge controller, and this is after I ripped it apart to salvage some wires from it. This got submerged in water twice. First time it made it okay. Second time it did not. And all this did was actually had two lights on it. And let me screen cap that. And because I know a lot of folks commented on the post. All right, so this had two LED lights on it. This had one here to indicate charging, and this one here, um, basically done charging, or yeah, fully charged. All right, so basically the purpose of a charge controller is solar power is great. Solar power is awesome. The only catch with solar panel is that the earth spins on its axis. When the earth spins on its axis, it becomes nice. It becomes night. Thanks, Rupesh. How you doing, Rupesh? Rupesh is joining. Rupesh is awesome. You got to check out his company and all the innovative stuff this guy is doing. He's like the next Steve Jobs. I mean it. All right. So basically, the problem with solar is that you're relying on light from the sun, right? You can use other lights and things like that, but ultimately, the best source of light is this. And I forget exactly what the figure is, but the amount of energy that strikes the surface of the earth every day could power civilization 10 times over, right? So a lot of folks think, let's just stick solar panels up and everything will be fine. And yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm a believer in solar panels, solar power, but there's a catch. And the catch is this. These aren't 100% efficient. In fact, they can't be 100% efficient because of this pesky thing called the laws of thermodynamics. The short of it is that the best solar panels there are around 30 to 35% efficient, which means that this thing here is only capturing about a third of the energy that it gets and converting it to electricity, which again, not bad because the sun's going to shine anyway, or not shine as the case may be. Now, here's kind of the catch. So in order to make solar panel power usable, you need some kind of storage, energy storage for this. And that usually comes in the form of a battery. This is my attempt to draw a battery. Although in my case, I'm using a car battery. No way. You sold solar panels? That's cool. I should talk to you then. And it's for real, man. You're a smart guy. I've seen the stuff you've done, man. It's awesome, the stuff that you've done. So anytime, man. So I'm using a car battery. And basically what you need to do, if you plug this up directly, you know what would happen? The battery would one, charge, and then two, get overcharged. And again, not an electrical engineer, not an electrician, I'm told that it would explode. And that would be very, very inconvenient. And there goes all your energy storage and anything in the path of said explosion. And these things are these things are filled with acid and all sorts of other nasty chemicals and things like that. Yes, the grid problem. We'll get to the grid in a minute because this is interesting. There's actually a story in Florida that I'll cover, and it's not about Florida man. All right. So what you need in order to kind of manage this is you need a broker of sorts that you go, and it's called it's known by a few names, but it's basically a solar charge controller, right? And then you connect to the battery because what happens is this monitors, and some of them are smarter now, like they can actually tell you what's going in. And I'll get to that in a second. The first one I had only had two lights on it, right? It's charging or there's power going through and the battery is fully charged, right? So if two lights were up, you were good. Now the new one has a little LED display telling me kind of more details about what's going on. All right, so what this does is it basically stops the charging when the battery is full. It also has another output on the new one, but I don't want to talk about that because I'm not really sure what it does yet. I know what it does. It basically, so you're thinking, Frank, all that energy is going to waste. Is that if this is fully charged, what are you doing? There's actually another output here that you can power something with this. I suspect that's for what Rupesh is talking about, net metering and giving the stuff back to the grid. I think that's what it's for. All right. So I mentioned a couple of stories in the news. One, the other bad thing about solar panels is that they degrade. Their performance degrades over time. And oddly enough, by temperature. So the hotter a solar panel gets, the less efficient it is. It'll still work, but instead of maybe getting 35% energy and converting it to electricity, you're doing 30. So all of this means is that for the most part, if you wanted to get a fully self-sufficient off-grid solar panel system, you have to over engineer it. You have to get more collectors than you think you'll need. So it's not a one-to-one ratio in terms of I have this need and I need this much under ideal conditions. This is what the solar panel will produce. Ideal conditions almost never exist unless you live in a place like the desert. But then again, the heat makes it less efficient. So I heard a news story the other day, which kind of blows my mind in the sense that with the heat wave in Europe, they're noticing that the solar panels are less efficient and they're not as reliable in terms of getting X amount of electricity through, which is kind of like, really? Like, I found this out and I'm not an expert. I just use YouTube to figure this out. So um, this can't be like, this can't be a surprise to a lot of people, but apparently it was. So is that the ratio? Oh, here we go. Here's kind of the magic thing, right? The good ones, um, you lose 15 to 20% of their efficiency after year three, and 20 to 25% by year five. Um, and that is a 35% to one. So I think that's what you mean. At least the best quality. Yeah, that's it. And again, if you think I'm down on this, the efficiency is increased dramatically and the cost of this is the efficiency has increased and the cost has decreased dramatically over the last decade or so. So things are getting better. They're looking up, they're looking sunny for solar panels, but it's still not a perfect solution, right? We're not at that point where we can get everything off what we need. So what is nice about this, and as someone who used to have a home generator, I have a generator at the old house, when that thing's on, it's noisy, right? When this thing is charging electricity, it's quiet. It doesn't make any noise, which I have next to my office, actually. Right outside that window is where the panels are and the battery and the solar charger are. So I replaced this weekend, and this tells me all sorts of information. Now, what's fascinating about the solar panels that I have is that there's three panels, equal sized. One of them, while I was repairing the wiring in the back, because I had it in the yard and some guys were doing yard work on it, and um, they ended up basically ripping the wires and mowing over the wires. So I had to repair that, and I think I took pictures of that. I did it on Father's Day. I had the kids help, and never too early to get them into STEM, right? And anyway, in any case, I live on top of a hill now, and it's very breezy, which on a hot day like today, it's wonderful. It's fantastic. However, if you lean your solar panel up against your porch railing or your deck railing, and a big gust of wind does this to your solar panel, you end up getting a crack in it, which is what I did, which is what happened. So one of my solar panels is cracked. I posted it. It still works. It's still able to put through electricity, but I think it's a lot less efficient now. So, based on my numbers, this is a 55-watt um, system, all three, according to the box. Um, it does produce 21 volts, and this confused me because whether or not I had one panel connected, two panels connected, three panels connected, the reading I was getting was consistently 21 volts. I'm like, wait a minute, shouldn't that be like a third, like 777? Apparently not. What did alter was the amperage. So let me do this real quick. Um, 55 divided by 21 is about 2.6. 2.6, and that would be about 2.6 amps. When I first measured it, I got 10 years ago almost. I got about 2.5 amps off of it. Um, Under perfect conditions, right? Um, which generator? Yeah, I mean, I could set it up like a UPS, which is ultimately my end goal, my end state here. But at the house, the one built-in one does work like a UPS. So if we lose power, it cuts on in about 30 seconds, which is very convenient. Um, uh, Again, on my wish list, on my Christmas list of things to get installed into the new house. Because the one thing I've discovered about generators is that once you have one installed, you will never lose power again. I think in the 15 years that we had a generator, well, maybe 12 years, in the 3 years before we had a generator, we had power outages once or twice a week. After getting it installed, we've had one or two, maybe one a year, basically, or less. All right. Now, when I measured it with my fancy voltmeter, I get about 21 volts again, but now I'm working at about 1.6 amps, which is not, which is slightly less than I expected. I figured it'd still be about two, but this could be because of age, or this could be because one of the panels is cracked and it impacts that. Here we go. Question from Rupesh. I mean, the current being 21 volts. Yes. So this is something I had to learn, and I realized I'm not maximizing the screen. Here we go. There's a formula I remember from school, and that's VEER, and that's voltage. And this is current amount, I think, and this is times resistance. But ultimately, watts is a function of voltage and amperage times amperage, I think. So so if this is 55, the voltage is what did I say, 21? This should be about 2.6 if it still lived up to the specs that it had on the box, which was brand new. Now, because of that formula that you have here, is that over time it degrades, and uh, it does degrade. So, hey, man, anytime, anytime. And I'm not 100% sure that my math is right either. So take it for what it is. But this is about what and I'm sure someone will correct me. And that's the beauty of the internet, is that someone will tell you you're wrong, especially when you're wrong. All right. So, um, so that's kind of the one of the things that I've learned from this, and again, this was all a learning kind of experiment, is that one, solar isn't perfect. However, it's awesome. So it doesn't have to be perfect to be awesome. And that the important thing here is that when you're designing a solar panel system for your house, for your shed, for whatever, you're always going to have to have more panels on than you think you need. So if you need 1 kilowatt, let's just say 1 kilowatt worth, that's your core need. And I know Rupesh shared some formulas, basically 1 kilowatt for 100-ish square feet. I'm not aware of that formula, but if you need that, you need the size, taking into account that it'll degrade over time. It degrades with heat, and so you probably have to make it like 1.5 kilowatt, because over the course of its lifetime, it's going to degrade. So, I mean, in my case, I probably 2x that, because your electrical needs are probably going to go up over time, and as this efficiency will go down over time. All of this to say is that I've collected a lot of information with my little experiment here, and I was able to connect the new. Can I zoom in? What do we get when I zoom in? I was able to connect the new device based on what I saw on a YouTube video on like how to do it. And it's cool. Like, it tells me the temperature of the system, tells me the state of the battery. The only thing I wish this would do would be able to like make that like exposable through an API, so I can push that out to the cloud and kind of tied um, tied up the weather to this, so I can figure out like, well, how much do you really lose per degree, or how much does a cloudy day impact the system, that sort of thing. Um, So you need 1.35 minimum. Yeah, that's about right if it's only certain efficient. Yeah. So I mean, I would say when in doubt, oversize. No, dude, this is very helpful because you actually installed panels. So you're like you're way ahead of me. I have my like three little like things I have in my backyard, and it was just great because at Christmas time, I can light stuff up far away from the house without having to running a cable, or I don't have to pay for the electricity to run it. That having been said, it's a funny story. You have to be careful about your wiring, because I once had and don't worry about it, man. Your comments have been extremely helpful, like for real, because I'm learning too. So one time at band camp. No, one time I wanted to, for Christmas, light up the entire deck. So I strung a bunch of lights together, And well, actually, I plugged it in and I strung in the first set of lights. It worked great. Second one, strung it in, worked great. And then I'm like, all right, this is going to be awesome. I can have this old solar panel powered and things like that. And I think about the third or the fourth light set, um, it started to flicker. And I was like, oh, that's not good. So I go and I check on the status of the battery, and I see the thing's smoking. And what's happening is that the clamps I had, do I have that in the picture? I do. You can see it right here, actually. If I zoom in, and I'm not showing it, so there we go. So you'll see. Come on, there we go. So what we have is the proper terminal leads that comes from the Sarge controller. These alligator clip things, which came with the Coleman kit, I should probably replace these. And you'll notice that one set of wires is thicker than the other. Apparently, that matters when you put more and more amps through a system. So I was drawing so much from this battery because it had all those Christmas lights plugged in that you can actually see it right here, right there. I melted the plastic, and that was the smoke that I saw. Um, but it was interesting. It was, I learned a thing or two because you can always see hear about, well, you need to wire this thick or this type of gauge wire or whatever. But um, learn by doing. That's one mistake I won't make. I'll also, I've learned a lot about electricity and installing solar panels. So that's all I got. I encourage you to kind of get your own kit and experiment with this and kind of, it's a fun little project. It's a fun thing you can do. Um, it's a fun thing you can do. And when people tell you that they went solar, you can ask all sorts of intelligent questions. You can run into Rupesh and he can tell you all sorts of cool things too. Um, and, let's see, this project would shoot up after. Oh, yeah. Oh, I mean, 1 kilowatt would probably kill this thing. I would probably have an explosion in my backyard. Yeah. This is not meant for that. And if you go to the Amazon page for the product, let me dig that up. Amazon uh Coleman solar watt Coleman. There we go. Hang on. My guitarist from a couple weeks ago was there. So if you look at the questions and answers here, you will see here we go, customer reviews. Basically says right here, and you can't read it, so let me zoom in. Come on. This is a very small solar array with about 4 amps output at 12 volts, which is 48. He throws other stuff in here too.
Daddy, what is
But what is what?
this?
That's a guitar.
No, like what type?
That's an electric guitar. Oh, it was your grandfather's.
This is not electric.
It's an electric guitar. You need to plug it into an amplifier. Sorry about that.
Can you help me?
I will help you as soon as I'm off with the stream, okay? 1 second, big guy. So ultimately, this is a great setup for battery charging. And a lot of the negative reviews here are because folks seem to think that they can plug this into their house and power everything that they've got. And I'm not in focus. Hang on. But it doesn't work that way, right? There is no, it's not entirely, I think. Hang on. It gets into what Rupesh said, is that this is not a large system. This would probably blow us up. I mean, this is 4 amps. Kilowatt would be a lot more than that. And, I would not, this is not what it's meant for, right? This is meant to be like let me see if I can get the thing to focus again. Oh, guitar. Hang on one sec, okay? He wants to learn guitar. Yes, and you do need what's called an inverter, which I'll cover that in a future video. But my camera is not cooperating, and he is reenacting memes and wants me to teach him guitar, which is funny because I don't know how to play the guitar. So with that, I'm going to end the stream. Rupesh, thanks for joining. And if you see that I got anything wrong, please let me know. I am still learning this, and there's a lot I know I need to learn. With that, I will end the stream, and thank you for watching. Thanks, Rupesh.
How is it electric?
How is it electric guitar?
Yeah.
You plug it into an amplifier. I'll show you.
Wait, can
We don't have an amplifier, but